Hi guys, so seen a few times on forums and Facebook pages and stuff on how the best way to shorten wires. Now I want to show you the way that I do it, which is what a guy at uni taught me to do. And I think there's a lot of guys in mechanical side, like good on the spanners and whatnot, who are a bit sort of terrified by wiring, but there's no need to be. It's not rocket science, and it really opens up what you can do when you understand it. This is kind of like a good place to start. So done it on my Honda, done it on the old Volkswagen engine swap in that car, and yeah, it never fails. I'm not saying it's the right way to do it, but it works for me. So I'll take you through and show you what I do. Now we'll pretend that this is a piece of wire in the car. So we've got like a plug end on this end, say, and just got the harness on this end. Okay, so we're going to cut and shorten it. Now the easy way to do it is just to cut that there and you know, cut and shut them. But if you think on, you can do it a bit better. So if you cut that there, and then we'll just cut that one there, yeah, and I've offset them that way you don't end up with two joints right next to each other, because you end up with a big fat caterpillar in the middle of your wiring when you're done. So I'll cut these so they line up nicely, and I'll show you. So there you can kind of see that the blue brown is longer that way than the green red or green orange, whatever it is. And yeah, that'll become apparent when I finish. So I guess the next step is do a nice cut down of it. So probably talking about 7 or 8 mil, something like that. Get a nice exposure on the wire. Just make sure you shake out the shielding that you've cut. Same again on that one. So what you're gonna want to do now is you get some nice adhesive lined heat wrap, and specifically get the adhesive lined stuff. It's a bit more expensive, but it's really worth it. You get 3 to 1 as well. Put piece over and make sure it's well away from that joint as well. You see the wire in a minute. And then I'm just going to do the opposite on the short side like that. Okay. And then the best thing, then what I do now is kind of spray the wire out like that. You can kind of see. And then do the same for its mate. Bit of leftover shielding on that one, don't worry about that. Yeah, just do the same for its mate. And push them together. Like that. You don't have to get too hung up about it. And then you got to twist them opposite each other, like that. And that way you've got a bit of a mechanical connection there before you start introducing solder. And then you clip it like that. And there's the reason I clipped it like this is if you're in a car, you might have a bit of tension on one side, and it'll just pull it while you're trying to solder it, especially as you start getting a bit of like wet solder in there. So this is how I like to do it. And we'll start introducing some solder now. So I'll just set this up. It's a bit easy for me to film. You get a nice quality soldering iron like that. You don't have to be a gas one, just get a good quality one. You have no end of trouble waiting for them to heat up when they're shitty ones. So yeah, just get a nice quality one. This is a Portasol. I rate this actually. You can burn interior trim with it quite easily though. Just got to be careful about that. Yeah, so what you're going to do, wait for that tip to get nice and hot, and you're just going to dab a bit of solder on it. And what you're going to do is just introduce that to your wire in here. And that bit of solder is going to help transfer heat into the joint. You've got a bit more surface area on it. And then as the joint gets nice and hot, which it's doing now, you can just brush the solder over it and push the solder into the joint, and you'll see it'll just start to load up. And all that solder between the wires, between all the little strands of wire, is what gives you the strength, the mechanical strength in the joint, as well as good electrical connectivity. This one's a bit harder because it's a little bit of a thicker gauge wire, but the same principle applies. Like, the way you make this easier is to have a bit more bigger tip on the soldering iron, and you can see it's just kind of sucking it up like brazing, like capillary action. And then that's about it. There we go. And then just step away. So you can see how the solder's been sucked up into the joint there. There's a really nice strong joint. I'll show you what you do next is you take this off, There's a reason we put, we put the heat shrink on first, and the way we try and push it away from the joint as best we can is because it's heat. Obviously, it'll just start shrinking. This is quite important in a car. With this application, it wouldn't matter because I'm just showing you. I could have just stuck a bit of heat shrink on up that wire, but I wanted to show you it properly. So yeah, you can just lay that over. Make sure you got the heat shrink in a nice position, and get a heat gun. I'd always recommend trying to use a heat gun rather than like your soldering iron or a lighter or something, because I think it just makes a mess. You'll never get a nice even shrink on it. That's nice. The other advantage of using adhesive line stuff is not only is it quite like, you get another layer of mechanical strength to it, it makes it fully waterproof. You can just see the adhesive starting to poke out there. It's why I like to use it. And there you go, nice quality strong joint. You could hang off that. Honestly, I can't really pull it much further. Yeah, well, I'll just whip up the other one now. This one will be a better example of what you do with the soldering iron, because it's a smaller gauge wire. It'll just be easier to heat up, and it'll take the solder a little bit easier. Make sure you give the tip of the soldering iron a good clean get. Otherwise you're getting loads of impurities in it. Solder doesn't want to stick, and yeah, it's like welding, like TIG welding through paint. Difficult. Again, just wait for the tip to heat up. There we go. And just introduce a solder to the joint. You can just run the solder along it there. It's a nice example, actually. Next to no effort to get that solder to just melt into the joint. Make sure you don't overdo it as well, otherwise you end up with a big blob at the bottom of it. So that's that one done again. I mean, that's a really nice one. Look at that. Nice, really strong joint, just like that. So I've got the wire, mechanical strength in the wire. Got all that solder sucked up into the joint, and then I'm going to put the heat wrap on it as well, heat shrink on it as well. Make sure you keep your fingers away from that as well. It's just gonna melt your fingers, singe all the hairs off. And that'll do. Yeah. So now you can see why I told you to stagger them. Now this isn't always possible, and to be honest, I don't always do it because it just messes with my head trying to work out, I need to take 3 centimeters off that and 1 centimeter off that, and then opposite. It just confuses me. But when it comes to actually wrapping that up now, it's so much easier to do it, and it'll look much neater if you've got a space between them, rather than if you had them both like that. You can imagine you've got a big fat caterpillar. It looks like a snake's eating a cat or something, doesn't it? When that's all wrapped up. So yeah, there you go. And you can absolutely hang off that. I mean, I can't put any more strength into that. There's a couple of other ways you can do it, like crimp joints, and those, you can get some nice quality crimp joints. I've seen people use them on, on like the skid factory and stuff. Like Turbo Yoda likes the crimp joints. It's fair enough, each to their own. I think this is a good way. Means I've got all this stuff lying around as well. I don't have to keep a stock of crimp joints. But yeah, I hope this helps some people out on how to do it. And I kind of don't be afraid of wiring. It'll opens a lot of doors for you when you understand it. You don't have to be making shit wiring choices inside the car, and then 2 years later you come and open up the dashboard and there's butt connectors everywhere and everything's in black and white wiring and no idea what's what. Just do it methodically. Yeah, so here you go. Hope you like the video. Let us know if there's any other like how-tos you want me to go through. This was quite a good one that I thought might be popular for people. I don't know if there's any other ones, not just wiring or any mechanical ones. Yeah, cheers, let us know what you think.